Good morning and Happy New Year, and welcome to Husker Extra Live. I'm Scott Young on the HuskerExtra.com website, on the World Wide Web, and on Mighty Big Sports 590. We're just thrilled to have you with us today, folks. Come on, it's time to get up. It's time to get moving. We had our big party last night. It's what we like to call showtime here on Husker Extra Live. I'm joined by Stephen M. Sipple of HuskerExtra.com and the Lincoln Journal-Star. We'll also have Brian Christopherson with us from HuskerExtra.com, and Mike Babcock from Huskers Illustrated and best-selling author of the Got to Have It Soon book, The Nebraska Vault. We'll be talking with Mike and looking at the season that we've had just past, the Colorado game, what we can expect for the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida, and a look maybe at the season ahead. We'll see how this show goes today, and we'll let you know how we come out on it when we get near the end, whether or not we look ahead much. Stephen M. Sipple's had a long break since the Colorado game, which you missed badly on, by the way. Oh, did I say that out loud or just think it? I'm sorry. But what a thrilling ball game that was. Yeah. A thrilling finish to that ball game.
I didn't see the close game coming, obviously.
Not by much. Missed it by that much.
No.
But it was a thrilling finish and a great finish to the season. We talked about it on Husker Extra Live. Had Nebraska lost that game, that'd have made for a long time between the bowl game and a long off season, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean there'd be a lot of, we'd look at the season completely different than we do now. So yeah, the kid made a big kick.
Well, that was a big one. All right, I hope you've had a little bit of time to find out something about Clemson, because I don't know anything about them, and I'll assume that Babcock and Christopherson do, but we're counting on you for that real wise information.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes.
All right, let's do the Stephen M. Sipple countdown. Sip, it's Clemson and Nebraska today. 4 keys to the game.
Well, I'm going to start with
the beginning.
I'm going to start with what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Shaking off the rust.
Yeah, you got to shake it off.
Both teams got to do it. I mean, Nebraska hasn't played since November 28th.
Yeah.
40-31 win over Colorado, as we talked about. Clemson hasn't played since November 29th. They beat South Carolina 31-14. So, I mean, no matter how hard you try, generally you're not practicing at game speed.
Yeah.
You're not hitting like you do in a game necessarily. So it all sometimes takes a while to get going in a game to where you feel very comfortable.
Okay.
In fact, I think Mike would back me on this. Osborne went through a stretch from 1987 to 93 where they lost 7 games in a row in bowl games, and he actually had to alter the way he practiced and prepared. So now you have 2 first-year coaches really trying to get a feel for how they want to approach the bowl. Of course, Bo did prepare Nebraska in 03 as an interim head coach, and that was a sharp team against Michigan State in that Alamo Bowl. They won 17-3. So we'll see how that goes.
And he's been on a lot of teams that went to bowl games, so he's had some different looks at how to prepare for a bowl game, right?
That's true. I mean, he's obviously paid attention. I mean, Bo will tell you that. I mean, was preparing to be a head coach the last few years, so he was taking note of how Les Miles did things and how that LSU staff did.
All right, what else you got for 4 keys to the game?
Controlling thunder and lightning. Thunder being James Davis, Lightning being C.J. Spiller. Those are the Clemson running backs. James Davis is 5'11", 215. He's thunder, a little more powerful, a little less speed. He has more rushing yards than C.J. Spiller. It's a 2-man backfield. C.J. Spiller's 5'11", 195, runs a 4.25. He's a more explosive player. Doesn't have as many rushing yards, but he will catch the ball out of the backfield, averages about 14 yards catching the ball, is a good return man. Took one back 96 yards this year. He's very fast. That's really the key to their offense.
Okay.
Another thing, I always go to the offensive line, and I do think it's key.
Got to go to the offensive line.
I do think it's key in this game because Clemson's strength is its defense, and they're pretty strong up front. They don't have a lot of sacks. It doesn't manifest itself in a big number of sacks. However, they do get after the quarterback pretty well, and what they really do a good job of is getting their hands up. So it's like Joe Gans will be throwing through a forest at times.
Yeah.
And Joe's not, he's not real big.
No, he isn't.
So he's going to have to, he'll have to be smart in that regard. They tip a lot of balls, and that's how they've gotten a lot of their interceptions. They have 18 interceptions, and a lot of them come on tip balls.
Okay.
The other thing, You know, and this is kind of nebulous, but yeah, I think Nebraska has to be mentally prepared for a 4-quarter slugfest. Could be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this will be
physical game.
Very physical, hard-hitting game. And when you're in a bowl-type situation, you're not always necessarily. There's a fine line between being mentally prepared for a game and having fun. You want to have fun on these trips. That's what it's all about to a degree. There's also a business side to it. So we'll see how Nebraska balances the business and the mental preparation part of it.
All right, it's Nebraska and Clemson today at noon on CBS. Nebraska 8-4, Clemson and 7-5. You're listening to Husker Extra live on HuskerExtra.com and Mighty Big Sports 590. This is the Stephen M. Sipple countdown. Sip, 3 players who need to step up for the Huskers today.
Yeah, I don't know about guys. I mean, you can look at a lot of different guys, but I start with Blake Lawrence, who's the linebacker who's been filling in for Cody Glenn on the weak side. I talk about Blake Lawrence because I think the linebackers are going to be big in the run game. Clemson's not going to spread the field like Nebraska so often has seen in Big 12 play. They'll have a tight end. They won't always go 4 wide. So the linebackers are going to be on the field a little bit more, and a lot of times they're going to be chasing those running backs. Well, what you don't want is those linebackers chasing running backs. You want them stopping the running backs after about 3 yards.
Yeah.
And so Blake's big. All the linebackers are big in this game. Wortman could fall under that category too. Another guy is Marlon Lucky. In the last 3 games in which he's played, he's rushed 22 times for 62 yards. That's a very average, ordinary.
Pedestrian average. Yeah.
And Marlon's much better than that.
Yep.
So what you want to see Marlon do is finish his career at Nebraska with a bang. I think he's capable. He had a turf toe against Colorado, didn't play that game after starting the previous 11.
Yep.
So I think Marlon has it in him. It's kind of one last gas for him to impress the NFL scouts.
Absolutely. He needs a big game.
And the other guy that has really stepped up all year is Damakong Suh. But you want to see him finish. And he's a physical player playing against a pretty physical ACC team. So he can neutralize that part of it. He's Nebraska's most physical player. And what you hope is he not only helps you in a big way this game, but he's also the type of guy, since he's a junior, who can set the tone for next year. And some of that is what this bowl's all about.
And some leadership needs to come up to
Yes.
the surface here. This is Husker Extra live on Mighty Big Sports 590 and HuskerExtra.com. Steve Sipple running down the countdown today for the Clemson-Nebraska game. Your 2 biggest Clemson concerns, Mr. Sipple.
Number 33, Cavell Connor, 6'1", 225-pound linebacker, very active. He's their leading tackler. He has 114 tackles, which is a big number. And the Nebraska coaches say he is an extremely active linebacker, that he will fly around the football field and create problems in different ways. The other guy I'm going to repeat, C.J. Spiller. Not so much as a running back, but as a return man. Averages 27 yards per kickoff return. Will also return some punts. He's big. And Nebraska obviously has struggled on those kickoff returns. And Spiller, again, 4.25 speed.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, he'll have speed like Josh Smith. Josh Smith, if you recall that Colorado game, flashed big-time speed. Nebraska had a little trouble with that. And Spiller has that type of speed.
All right, and the number 1 most intriguing thing about the football game today.
There's so much of it, seriously.
Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue here, isn't there?
There is. 2 young head coaches, 2 programs really enjoying late season surges. Both programs trying to regain national stature. I think we'll have a pretty packed stadium. Really, what's not to like about this bowl game? I mean,
Yep.
there's a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of intensity.
And it's a New Year's Day game, which matters to Husker fans, and I expect Clemson fans as well.
Oh, I think
It's a
it
big
matters.
thing.
I think it matters to certainly both fan bases.
All right. So you're joining us today on Husker Extra Live. We're glad you're with us on Mighty Big Sports 590 and HuskerExtra.com. We want to remind you can navigate around our website. Sign up for text messages from Steve Sipple from the booth down there in Jacksonville, Florida. Get an update quarterly from Sip on what's going on. You can also join in the Life in the Red blog and get into those conversations and arguments and discussions about what's going on at today's Gator.